All right. Hello. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to our Energy Institute members and all of you who attended our previous events and workshops. And of course, a very warm welcome to those who are joining us for the first time. As a very brief introduction, my name is Piotr, and I'm a board member of the Energy Institute Young Professionals Network in the Middle East. And I'm joined today by my fellow members of the YPN committee, Shahda and Andy, and of course the leader of today's workshop. It's a huge pleasure for us to host Hadi Jawad, who's going to be the leader of this session. So in today's workshop, we are going to be talking about the topic of emotional intelligence. But before we jump into it, I just wanted to say a few words about who we are as the Energy Institute. Shahda, if you could move to the next slide, please. So the Energy Institute is a professional membership body for the global energy industry, delivering good practice and professionalism across the depth and breadth of the energy sector through knowledge and skills development. Our chief executive is based in our headquarters in London, Lewis Kingham, whom you can see here on this slide. If we go to the next slide, please. What do we do? So as a member of the Energy Institute, you can get access to a lot of great material to accelerate your career as a young professional, both in the energy industry and in other industries where energy would be of interest to you. And the services that we provide is, of course, knowledge base and events, workshops such as this one that you're attending today, skills development and sharing of good practice across the industry. And I would add that if you are interested in joining us as a full-time member, please do not hesitate to get in touch with any of the committee members after this webinar. So on the next slide, I wanted to mention that the Middle East branch of the Energy Institute is led by Trevor Stoddbriggs and Dr. Wada Kanem. I'm not sure if they are present with us at this workshop today, but I mean, it's worth saying that they are really distinguished professionals with many years of experience in the energy industry, and this is kind of the caliber of people that you would get to interact as a member of the Energy Institute. On the next slide, so us as the Middle East Young Professionals Network, we have been established in 2019 as a branch within the Middle East, within the Energy Institute Middle East. And we are a part of a very wide network of branches, which is spanning 4 continents. Our bread and butter, our motto is to act as a hub for tomorrow's energy leaders. And we aim to build a platform where young professionals can grow and develop their networks. In terms of the YPN committee, to show you a couple of faces virtually, besides myself, I'm joined today by my colleagues Shahda Altaya and Andy Webster. And we are all working together in developing this network in the Middle East, supported by also a range of volunteers. We are all professionals working in the energy sector and you know, really enjoy building, co-creating this platform with you to learn more, to network, to develop your skills as a young professional in energy industry. And with that, I will pass it over to Shahda to tell you a little bit more about our activities, and then followed by the workshop itself with Hadi. Thank you.
Thank you, Piotr. Thanks for that. Let me just start by thanking everyone for joining us today and hope that you enjoy the session and find it very useful. Just to tell you more about the Young Professionals Network and what we're really passionate about, and that's really the development of our members, as well as growing the scale and impact of the network itself. And we do that with collaboration with important partners such as industry leaders, as well as corporates and organizations, and also with universities and research institutes as well. And we really aim to bring you the best value And we've thought of different ways of doing that, starting with speaker events, such as today's event, where we have a speaker sharing their insights and experiences on key topics that are relevant to you as our young professional members. We also thought of holding more networking sessions to allow our young professionals to network with others from the wider Energy Institute branch, as well as industry leaders that are part of our network. In terms of your professional development, we can also support you, whether it's through the chartered status or our access to our library of resources that are available online. And these can really help you whether you're looking at your professional development and career development options, as well as looking at industry insights, or even kind of looking at research insights that can help you whether you're doing your master's or in a graduate program. Site visits are also things that we're looking at to give our members a hands-on experience and to really show them how things are done on site, whether it's interesting projects here in the region, such as solar projects, the Sustainable City, for example, Dubai Expo 2020, and many other interesting projects. Mentorship is also another area that we're looking at along with the wider Energy Institute branches. And these programs are hopefully being rolled out in the last quarter of this year that will really help you when it comes to your professional development as well. Let me just give you a very brief overview of the events that we've had in the past, ever since our launch in December of 2019. And basically, we sat down with you and discussed how you as young professionals can really shape the energy industry in the Middle East. We've also had multiple webinars ever since everything went virtual, and we discussed key topics such as the future of engineers and professionals in the energy industry. We've also looked at the impacts of COVID-19 on the global climate agenda, and that's pretty much in line with the Energy Institute's Generation 2050 initiative, and you'll hear more about that initiative in the later part of the session. We've also discussed a lot on the key skills and competencies that are required for the future of young professionals. And that's kind of the premise of the idea of these virtual workshops that we're hosting. And we've already had one so far, which was 2 weeks ago. It was about data science. And today's session, as you're all aware, is on emotional intelligence. And we're going to be rolling them out every 2 weeks, so twice a month. And the next one for you to mark your calendars is going to be on the 21st of September. And it's basically going to be discussing leading in the energy sector, more about leadership skills, more about the importance of having diverse and inclusive teams. And just for you to kind of mark your calendars, and we'll be sharing invites to that session as well. But before that, let me start by introducing today's speaker, Hadi Haboubi, who will be sharing some of his insights on emotional intelligence and the importance of self-awareness. Hadi is a senior manager at General Electric, and he's also the co-founder of Mind Remastered, which is a life and high-performance coaching business that can help you achieve your goals. I know that Hadi is very passionate about changing habits, about adopting a growth mindset, and other leadership skills. So, Hadi, I think we're all very interested to hear what you have to say. So, please, I'll hand over to you now.
Perfect. Thank you, Shahda. First of all, I want to say thank you, Shahda, Peter, and Andy for organizing this. It's a pleasure working with you and being able to deliver this. And I want to thank everyone over here who joined. You know, the first step with anything is to show up, and you've showed up, so that's amazing. And we're going to start off with this presentation. So let me share my screen quickly. Perfect. I think now I've shared my screen. So thank you, Shahda, for the introduction. So just to elaborate, yeah, my day job, I work as a senior manager at GE Healthcare within the international tax department, and I have a background of working at KPMG and the M&A tax and transfer pricing department. And by night, other than fighting crime, I work as a high performance and life coach where I help clients achieve their goals, clarify the goals, install the right mindset and habits. And today we're going to be talking about two of my favorite subjects, self-awareness and emotional intelligence. And hopefully we're going to have some time for questions and answers afterwards. But during the session, I will be asking some questions, and it would be great if you can join and just participate by responding in the chat box. The more you engage with this session, the more you'll be able to get out of it. And in fact, I'm going to ask you for a favor, which is to try to go through the session as if you're going to teach it to someone else. And when you do that, you'll be able to learn a lot more and get a lot more from this session. So let's kick it off. So first of all, we're going to be talking about self-awareness. And what is self-awareness? And in fact, maybe I'm going to start off with a question to the group. So if you can just chat in the chat box, maybe say what you think self-awareness is. And I'll be able to see it and respond to you. So understand your strengths, understand your capabilities and limits, how you see yourself, presence, inner capabilities. Yeah, we're all on the same page. However, your value and standing, yeah, great responses. So that is all very true. So self-awareness is, and thank you guys for actually being part of this. Self-awareness is about understanding yourself clearly. What are your passions? What are your values? What are your development points? Because the more you know about yourself, the clearer are your goals and the steps required to get there. But it's also about, so it's about how you see yourself, but it's also about how others see you. When you understand how others are able to see you, you're more able to actually influence them and work in a better way. The questions you need to ask yourself, what are your strengths? What are your habits? And how do you behave in certain circumstances? These are all vital information that you need that will help you progress in your personal and professional life. And the thing is, we all think we know how we are and we're very self-aware. But Harvard Business Review did a lot of studies on this and showed in their studies, only about 10 to 15% of people display self-awareness. So there's a big gap that we can all definitely work on. By understanding who you are, you're able to identify where you need to grow and you'll be more confident in approaching the challenges because you know what you bring to the table and you can overcome anything when people doubt you. You can overcome that, and trust me, people will doubt you. So it's good to be self-aware. The benefits of self-awareness, because you know yourself, because you know the gaps, because you know your goals, you'll be better to make decisions. And you'll live a more fulfilling, successful life because you're doing what you want to do. You're very clear. Clarity here is so important. It comes up in all the predictors of overall success. And high self-awareness score, having a high self-awareness score is actually one of the strongest predictors of overall success at work and personal life, really. Because you're gaining that awareness in where you want to go, the gap to get there, and how to fill that gap. And because you're clear, you're more productive and you're more creative. So that's kind of just a bit of what is self-awareness. That's right. Someone's asking what HBR means. It's just the Harvard Business Review from Harvard. Basically, they do a lot of studies, and they showed that only 10 to 15% display self-awareness. So there are 6 awareness insights that we really need to consider when looking at this. The first insight is passion insights. what do we love doing? Passion is this energy and happiness source that we can leverage and that allows us to overcome any struggle. And in life, we cannot succeed without hard work and resilience. And for that, we require an ongoing renewable source of energy. And that energy is called, we can tap into passion and deliver that energy. And plus, passion is infectious and it's a great motivator. People can see when you're passionate about something and it can make them passionate about the same thing. So having that clarity is very important. Second of all, it's a value insight. You know, what are the principles guiding how we live our lives? When you match your work with your value, you're more personally invested and willing to struggle to reach your goals. There's a deeper reasoning behind your work that you fully understand, and therefore you will outperform yourself. And third, aspiration insights. You know, what are your life goals and why? If you don't know your goals, then it's difficult to make decisions as there's no clearly motivated purpose. It's like you're a ship with no compass. You don't know if you're drifting towards or away from your goal if you don't know the goal. So, you know, that's very important. The last three awareness insights is behavior insights. You know, what is the emotional and physical reactions we exhibit in certain circumstances? You see, our mind is very skillful in storing information about how we react in certain situations, and that conditions us such that when that same situation arises, we'll react in the same way unless we're aware of it and unless we understand it. And you know, there's a lot of research that shows up to 95% of our daily decisions are done by the subconscious mind. We're actually on autopilot a lot of the times. And therefore, having that awareness into your behavior opens up a large avenue for change, for positive change, and for understanding. The fifth is influence insights. You know, how our actions impact others. You know, what do we do that's influencing other people, and how are we influencing other people? So behavior insight and we have influence insight, and really those two insights is where emotional intelligence comes. It's about how we're reacting to our environment and how are we influencing other people through emotions. And the last awareness insight really is environment insight. You know, which environment will maximize performance, allows us to focus better and be happier. You know, what is distracting you? What people are making you better and others bringing you down? Having that information allows you to make better decisions in life and, you know, maximize performance and focus. So these are kind of the 6 awareness insights that you really want to look into. So, you know, we had values, we had passion, behavior, influence. You know, these are very, very important insights. So in terms of improving self-awareness, I want to ask the question of why do some people find self-awareness difficult? So I want to give this to the audience and see what people think of why people find this difficult at times. So unwillingness, they do not reflect. Yeah, definitely. A lot of distractions, scared, that's a good one. Being scared, too caught up in the moment. Yeah, it is very hard to criticize oneself honestly. And that's the thing, you gotta be honest with this. If you're not honest, there is no point of doing it. And ignorance is bliss. Yeah, sometimes it's just easier not to find out these things. It's very true. I mean, really, a lot of the times, and thank you for all these comments. A lot of the times we're not present to observe what's happening inside or around us. We're on autopilot. We're just walking around and just reacting to our environment without realizing what we're doing and how much power we actually have. And also we blame other factors. We blame John for making me angry. We blame Sarah for, you know, if she was late and therefore I'm angry now. And really, we have to step back and realize we have the power. We get to choose how to react to things in our environment, and we get to choose whether to really reflect on those things or just react and go as a normal day. In terms of solutions, spend time reflecting and being aware of your thoughts and patterns. It really is a superpower to step out of your mind and understand why are you feeling like this. Act as if you're the subject, you're this other entity, and you're understanding, okay, what is this person doing? Why are they thinking like that? A lot of the times we automatically generate thoughts, and it's a superpower to just step back and understand where are these thoughts coming from? Why are these thoughts being generated? And what I mean by ask what instead of why, a lot of the times we ask, why am I failing? And why is this not working? And that kind of puts us down. But instead, you can use what and say, what do I need to do to improve my performance? What situations are causing me to be distracted? When we move from why to what, we're being more solution oriented. We're looking at what can I do to improve? Because at the end of the day, it's with you. The power is with you, not someone else. So once you kind of bring it to your home, you have the optionality to really decide how you want to take this forward. Practice mindfulness or meditation. There's so many benefits with meditation, but one benefit with this is to be present. We're being more present and self-aware instead of just reacting and being so immersed in our emotions and thoughts. We're actually understanding them and spending time understanding them. Keep a journal and pay attention to your inner state as they arise. Keeping a journal, when you write things down, you can connect the dots a lot better. And you actually see the bigger picture of, okay, so I'm reacting in this way. What situations keep on arising that are resulting in this situation, in this reaction happening over and over again? You get to connect the dots and understand yourself better. And research shows that keeping a gratitude journal makes you 25% happier because you're focusing on the positives, you're focusing on the opportunities, and that has a big impact on how you see the world. And ask close people for feedback. It's difficult. I get it. It is really difficult to ask for feedback, but it's so important because a lot of the times we're so in our own world, we think we're reacting and behaving in a certain way, but in reality we're not. And asking close people who actually know you, who haven't just spent an hour with you, but actually seen you through a couple months and working with you, can provide amazing feedback, which will surprise you, and which you can work on definitely. So here's some self-awareness questions I think you can take with you, after this course, to really ask yourself these questions. What does your ideal you look like, and why? I know I said let's move from why to what, but sometimes why is also good. What activities am I doing when it feels like time flies by? This is a question about passion. When we're doing something and we forget time, this is kind of what we love to do, what we're passionate about. And passion is very important to have in your life, whether that's your work or whether that's a hobby, because it generates energy. When you're struggling, you can tap into that passion and it delivers some amazing source of energy that you can use in any aspect of your life. So it is a superpower to know these things. What skills do I need to develop to live a more successful life? And what do I value most, and why do I value these things? And this is important. What are your triggers? We all have triggers, people or situations that trigger negative or uncomfortable emotions. And usually we don't deal with them because they're uncomfortable. But if we don't deal with them, they're just going to happen over and over and over again. So only once we're aware of those triggers, which we all have, can we overcome them. So that's really important. And, end of year reflection throughout, when New Year's come, we always do New Year's resolutions. and think, oh, I'm going to do this next year, I'm going to do that next year. But we don't spend time reflecting on the past year. What didn't go well in 2020? What do I need to do differently? You know, all the high performers reflect. If you can see, say, one habit that the high performers do consistently is reflect, because that's where improvements come in. Whether that's a reflection on a weekly basis, whether that's a monthly basis, or at least a yearly basis. Reflection is the foundation of self-awareness, definitely. So that's kind of self-awareness. And now we're going to move into emotional intelligence. And that's a really interesting subject too. But first of all, again, what is emotional intelligence? And I want, again, that's a question for the audience. So I would love it if you can participate here. So what is emotional intelligence? So trigger awareness, controlling emotions. Yep, definitely there is an aspect of controlling emotions for this. Anyone else? What do people think emotional intelligence is all about? Ability to understand emotions that are either being ruled by them, being able to read the situation, being aware of how others feel, wisdom and right assumptions, being able to use emotions the right way, situations we find ourselves, definitely, all those 100%. So, I mean, emotional intelligence really is the ability to recognize, understand, and use emotions as a source of energy, information, and influence. Energy, information, and influence. And we're going to touch on this a lot more. The truth is, we all are very emotional beings. We think we're rational. You know, we think we make decisions based on rationality, but a lot of the times, in fact, most of the times, we act based on feelings and emotions. And I want to ask you, like, think about all the advertisements you see on TV. Think about Coca-Cola. What are they doing? When they do the advertisement, they're not selling you Coke. They're selling you a feeling. They're showing you spending time with your friends and the feelings associated with that, the events that you go to. And it's based on those feelings that we make decisions. It's based on those emotions that we choose A or B. It's how does this make me feel? And that's something that we really need to recognize and understand. And by enhancing your self-awareness is the foundation of emotional intelligence. By enhancing your self-awareness, you're taking back control of decision-making. You're asking, what feeling is this creating and why? And now you're becoming the driver of your life. You're in the driver's seat now. And research has shown that self-awareness and emotional intelligence are the strongest predictors of work performance. They predict 58% of your work performance. So it's a big thing at work. It's a huge thing at work that we need to all consider. But really, what are emotions? We're jumping over here in terms of emotions, but what are emotions? And there are three components to an emotion. There's a physiological component. You know, your heart increases, your blood pressure, your breathing changes. That's the physiological, that's the feeling. But also it's a mental expression and thought. It's what do I make sense of this? What is the story that I'm telling myself about this situation? And the reality is we're all making up stories because a lot of the times we don't have all the information. So we have to make assumptions. And these assumptions are the stories we're making about what we see. And that affects our emotions too. And also it's the expression. It's the facial expression, you know, the angry, the happy face. It's the posture, how am I standing? And it's the vocal, also audio, how are people sounding? And it's based on that expressions that we read the emotions in other people. But really it's all those three things that we need to consider. So here's the functions of emotions. And again, I'm gonna drop this to the audience. What do you think the function of emotion is? So communication, yeah, we definitely use it to communication, to elevate and reduce things, to focus on things, to release, I guess maybe release energy is what I think. Warning and telling, yeah, definitely. It is information telling us a lot about certain situations. Show what we feel. Yeah, it shows us what we feel, and it is part of being human. It's how we connect with others, 100%. It is how we connect through emotions, and can be used decision-making often. Yeah, definitely often. Not always. If we get, and we'll touch on this, if we get overwhelmed with emotions, then it's not good for decision making. So the functions of emotions is to provide important information that assist with decision making. You know, when we love something, or when we feel anger or love or jealousy or anything, all these emotions, they're telling us something about the situation that we need to take note of. And I want you to think of it as a defense system. You know how when you put your hand near a fire and automatically your hand moves without you even consciously thinking about it, and it's kind of the way of the body to protect yourself. Emotions are the same thing. It's a defense system. It's not as clear-cut as your response to a fire, because it's based to some extent about your thoughts, but it guides us to make certain decisions in certain situations. And so we need to leverage that. It moves us toward certain actions. You know, love, anger prompts us to take actions. If this is something that I love, then maybe it's something I should follow. Or if there's jealousy or some other kind of similar emotion, maybe it's something that I need to understand. Why am I feeling jealous in this or envious in this situation? These are vital information that we need to understand and not suppress. Because once you suppress, it will be out of your control after a few times when you do that. And it's a great motivator. It motivates us. You know, when you're feeling the passion, when you're feeling that excitement, it motivates us and allows us to really leverage that and outperform ourselves and a lot of other people. So imagine a world where you can leverage those emotions and use them to your advantage, you know? And it's very important for long-term memory. There's a lot of research that shows actually, you know, information plus emotion equals to long-term memory. So when you're engaged into something, when there's joy or another emotion involved, you learn things better. Now think about all your old memories. They have a sense of emotion attached to them, whether that's anger, whether that's love or happiness. There is that emotion to it. So these are kind of the main functions of emotions. And again, we'll go into more detail a bit. But first of all, I want to show you the stimuli-reaction cycle. This is really important to understand how we react to things in the world around us. That's you, Mr. or Mrs. Blue Man or woman. And you're seeing a stimuli in your world, whether whatever it is. Someone said something, you saw a car drive by very quickly, and you had to brake, whatever it is. And based on that stimuli, it goes through the senses, whether that's you hear it, see it, smell it, feel it, taste it. And that's how we gain information from the outside of the world into our world, into our head. And once that information passes through our senses, we filter it. We all filter the information. We generalize, we distort, or at times we even delete information that doesn't make sense to us, that's not aligned to the story that we have of the world. And that filter is based on our beliefs, our values, and in our current state in that moment. And that's why it's so important to understand your beliefs and values, because they dictate how you see the world. They dictate how you're generalizing and making assumptions and deleting and distorting the information. We all assume, everyone, when they see a car, when they see another human being, we're seeing the same thing. We're not. We're all seeing very different things based on those filters that we have. And those filters are the things that interpret and give meaning to the stimuli or to the information that we're seeing in the world around us. And based on that meaning, we have a feeling or emotion is generated. Our feelings, to a large extent, comes from our interpretations and meanings of the things we see around us based on our beliefs. And based on those feelings and emotions, we act and behave in certain ways against that stimuli. And this cycle, the stimuli-reaction cycle, can sometimes happen in a second. But the thing is, self-awareness leads to a clearer and more accurate perception of our inner and outer experiences. And without having emotional intelligence, you can be blind to why you are reacting to a situation in a certain way and lose control to your environment. If we don't assess these things, then we're just reacting consistently in the same way to the same reaction without changing it. And it is scary to think that this actually can happen in a second. But there are ways to really expand that time when you are reacting to the stimuli around you. So that's the cycle. And really there are 4 principles of emotional intelligence that I want you to take away with you after this session. Really, the first one is self-awareness and regulation, understanding the process and your emotions. Emotions are core to your identity, and they show you what you care about and how you define yourself. And we're going to go into this a bit deeper after this slide. Decision-making. We leverage emotions for optimal decision-making, helping us, guiding us on what to do. Recognizing people's emotions, it allows us to understand what others are feeling. Empathy. And influence. This is a big one. Using emotions to connect and influence other people, using them wisely in social contexts to influence people. So self-awareness and regulations, it's all about being aware of your current state and emotions. Can you label your emotions? That's the first step. Can you label your emotions? Are you envious or jealous? There's a difference, and they're telling you different things. Actually, a question would be, how many emotions do people think we have? If you can just chat in the chat box. Let's see how many emotions people think we have. 8, 10, 6 basic ones. Yeah, they're the basic ones. Definitely. Thousands. Maybe thousands, 20, are they limited? As many as there are colors, that means infinity. Yeah, there's so many emotions, but the basic research on this says there's at least 27 emotions. There's at least 27 emotions, but we don't really know a lot of them because a lot of us think it's 10 emotions or 6 emotions, which are the basic, the angry, the happy. But the more you can label them, the more you get close to them, and the more you understand them, understand what information is this giving me. Use body awareness to gain understanding of what emotions you are going through. Once we understand the emotions, we understand why we are feeling like this and how to leverage it in decision making. And I really do believe between stimulus and your response, there is a space. And in that space lies your freedom and lies your growth. In that space, you become the in the driver's seat of your life. So it's important to understand that space and increase that space. How? We'll discuss that in a bit. And remember, emotions are temporary. They don't define you. It's fine to feel an emotion in that moment, but don't feel guilty, for feeling sad. Sometimes our body needs to release this energy. And if we don't process it, it's just going to build up. When our emotions overwhelm us, they start controlling us. And I want you to, have you guys played Tetris? You remember Tetris? You're going to receive these blocks,
And think about emotions in the same way. You're receiving these different types of blocks that you need to process. And if you don't process these blocks, these emotions, they will build up and then they will overflow. And then they will become out of our control. And the more we leave it, the more we don't process it, the harder it is to process it later on. And I think that's the big misunderstanding about emotions. A lot of people see it as when people are overwhelmed. And really, those instances happen because a lot of the times happens because we don't process them in the right time, or we're not aware of what's going on and we don't give it the right time. So if you don't process it, it overwhelms us and then it affects our decision making. So regulate, but don't suppress. Regulate it. So here's some techniques of regulating emotions. First of all, if you're feeling very immersed in your emotion, the first thing to do is take a deep, deep breath. When you take a deep breath, you're stimulating the vagus nerve, which calms you down, and that allows you to really understand things. Second of all, name your emotion. Is it anger that I'm feeling? Is it shame? Is that fear? We always, when fear comes about, we always label it as something else because we don't like feeling fear. But a lot of the times it is fear. And so labeling that allows you to make the better decisions. And then when you're able to name your emotion, you can embrace it. And what I mean by embrace it is to understand it, to assess it as if you were the subject and as if you were a different person, and trying to understand, what is this trying to give me? What information is this trying to give me? And that's when you mindfully embrace it. And then practice self-distancing and non-first person analysis. What I mean by this is, when you're so immersed in your emotion in that moment, to really analyze it, it's a great way to self-distance yourself. So step a bit back and assess yourself as if you were the subject, as if you are a fly on a wall looking at you, reacting in that moment, and looking at how others have reacted towards you in that moment. When you do that, you're kind of reducing the emotional overwhelmment a bit. And when you do the non-first person analysis, what I mean by that is, when you're referring to yourself in the non-first, as in Hadi has done this, or this person is doing this, and this is how they're reacting, and why is this good or bad? You're removing me and me, it's me against the world kind of mentality. And so you're able to analyze the situation in a much better way. And you can even also think of the situation as if you were trying to remember it, as if you went 10 years in the future, and this is a memory. When we do that, again, the level of overwhelmment of the emotion gets reduced. So it becomes to a normal state where you can assess it and understand it. So hopefully these kind of techniques allows you to really regulate it. So decision making, emotions provide information, and we incorrectly think we make better decisions when we get rid of emotions. You always hear it. He's emotional or she's emotional. I don't trust what he or she says. And a lot of the times when people are overwhelmed with emotion, it's because they haven't really processed it, or it's the first time maybe they're thinking about the emotion properly. The more you think about the emotion, the easier it becomes to regulate, understand, and leverage. If you're doing it for the first time, it's going to be difficult, but with time, you'll be able to really leverage that, and it becomes a lot easier to understand. Okay. Emotions guide our moral judgment and actions. There's a lot of research that actually shows when the area of the brain which deals with emotions is damaged, we act on our impulses a lot more. Think about it. If I tell you now to go try to steal something, guilt will come about. Well, hopefully guilt is going to come about, and that will stop you from taking certain actions. So emotions are there to guide you, but you need to understand them first, and understand your beliefs and your values, because they also affect your emotions. what is anger trying to tell me? Anger usually is about fairness. What is compassion about? And compassion, feeling that compassion increases sensitivity of others to harm. The important thing is, what do we do with these emotions? Not that you're feeling them. Feeling emotions, we're emotional beings. We act based on emotion. We have to feel those emotions, but it's what you do with this information that's really important, and that dictates a lot of the decisions that you'll make. The fourth principle is, recognizing people's emotion. Empathy creates connections and understanding. Empathy means when you understand what other people are feeling. And we assess this through facial, voice, and language expression. And, it's about intention. It's about when you're speaking to someone, are you noticing the facial expression? Are you noticing the voice? Are you trying to find out what emotions the people are feeling? Because when you understand that, you have that better connection and understanding, and you're able to work in a better environment. And Harvard Business Review, again, did this research that showed the 10 most empathetic companies increased in value more than twice to the least empathetic companies. Because empathy drives collaboration, it drives innovation, and while reducing the cost from turnover. That's because 90% of employees are more likely to stay with an organization that empathizes with their needs. And empathy is something that not just leaders need to show. Every single person in any organization, whether you're the most junior person, whether you're the most senior person, has a duty to connect with your other human being, to understand each other, and to enjoy working with each other, because that drives collaboration, that drives high performance and innovation. You're able to be more creative because you understand each other. There's less conflict at work. Imagine all the people that you work with if everyone is in more harmony. It's a powerful tool, definitely a powerful tool. And to insert more empathy in our life, we need to allow people to notice each other better. Move away from self-focused narrative. A lot of the times, when we see someone feeling happy or sad, we're thinking, how does this make me feel? It's always about me. Move away from that. Try to think about, okay, why is this person feeling sad or happy at work or personal life? Once you try to put that understanding in your environment, you create that connection. Capitalize on positive events and be curious. Don't just approach people when they're in a sad place. When they're happy, ask them, why are they happy? Explore, give appreciation, be genuine and curious. Life is supposed to be an adventure, and your work should be also an adventure where you connect with other humans. That's when you deliver excellence and high performance work. And listen empathetically instead of with bias. Listen, minimize what is being said to our own experiences without considering their perspective. Everyone has a different filter and going through different things. So don't make assumptions on why they're feeling certain things. Ask them, connect with them. Doing that work will really generate just amazing energy and a positive environment for amazing collaboration. When we give and receive empathy, we release oxytocin, which is a chemical that creates a sense of trust and cooperation. And therefore we work better. We work together better. Rather than trying to win, focus on understanding, focus on connecting. And lastly, for the 4 principles of emotional intelligence is influence. We are emotional beings and we act based on emotions. How are you making people feel? Genuinely ask yourself, how are you making people feel? Because people really react and make decisions based on how they feel. So how are you making them feel? The more you can read people's emotions, the more you can understand their reactions and how you can uplift them, influence, and manage people. And there's a lot of research that shows senior managers with higher emotional intelligence have more positive attitudes, we're more altruistic towards colleagues, and we're better able to reconcile conflict. Emotional intelligence is one of the highest predictors of high performance, of you getting a promotion, of you going up to leadership. Because if you think about it, to get any job as an engineer, for example, or even as a doctor or any other job, social media, there is a bar to get that job. There is a level of IQ that is required. So everyone with you has that level of IQ or very close to it. And so the differentiating thing will be the emotional intelligence, will be how you manage people, will be how you connect with other people. So it's a big, big, powerful thing to understand how people feel and how you can connect with that and influence people. So just to kind of recap very quickly, I know we're running out of time. Just maybe I'll just skip this because I want to leave some questions and answers to the end. But I just want to quickly go through this. What are the emotional benefits? Skillful communication, ability to diffuse conflicts. We're better at overcoming challenges and able to handle failures because we're not so immersed in our emotions. We can label them, understand them, and regulate them and overcome them very quickly. Better perception of inner and outer experiences. You're a more productive team. 90% of top performers have high emotional intelligence. And the research actually shows 87% of CEOs believe a company's financial performance is tied to empathy in the workplace. Something we don't really talk about a lot, empathy, because we'll have more meaningful relationship. So how do we foster more emotional intelligence? Ask how someone is feeling genuinely, acknowledge that, and tell them it's okay to feel that way. And when they ask you, answer, how are you feeling? Honestly. And don't just complain, connect. Try to find solutions. Try to understand your emotions. If you have one big takeaway is the self-awareness aspect is to reflect and to understand the emotions that you're going through and spend time understanding those emotions. Emotions aren't good or bad. They are information and they are energy. It's what we do with that information and energy that will be bad or good. That's really important. Reflect. If there's one habit you should take is reflection. Daily, weekly, monthly, annually, understand what you need to improve on, who you are, what are your strengths, what are your development points, and develop and improve. Even if you just improve 1% on a weekly basis, it's compounded. You will really excel in your personal and professional life if you reflect. And regulate with intention and understanding instead of suppression. And I want to leave you with this quote. Yesterday, from our favorite poet, Rumi, yesterday I was clever, so I wanted to change the world. Today I am wise and I'm changing myself. It all starts with you. You have the power to change the world, but it starts with you changing yourself. And you'll always be work in progress. Everyone is a work in progress. And once you realize that, and once you identify the gap, you'll be able to live a successful, fulfilling life. With that, I'll leave. I don't know how much time left we have, but I'll leave with questions and answers. And if you're heading off before this, please follow us, Mind Remastered, on Instagram and LinkedIn for more daily tips on how to reframe your mind, how to install the right habits and the mindset to live a great, successful life with high performance. And thank you for that. So questions and answers. I don't know how we should do this exactly, whether you want to do it in the chat box or probably that's the best way, I would assume.
Hadi, we already have a question on the chat box.
Okay.
How can we develop a skill to understand others' emotions? From Mahra.
How can we develop a skill to understand others' emotions? Well, first of all, it's about understanding what are the emotions that we have. So it's about going online, there's a lot of information about emotions. And then when you speak to someone, it's about having that intention to understand the emotion. It's what I want to get out of this is many things, but one is to understand what someone is feeling, whether that's through their facial expression, whether that's through the voice, whether you can just ask them too. We always forget we have that tool of asking people how they're feeling and why, and trying to connect with them in that way without putting any judgment. Open up that space for them to share and for you to share. Any other questions?
Yeah, Hadi, if I just come off mute for a second, maybe one last question to you. You talked a lot about this journaling. So how can we, what does a good journal look like at the end of the day to really capture what emotions you might have gone through in the day? What's your tip to start that for people that haven't done that?
So with journaling, it's one, you need to bring honesty to the table. And it's going to be difficult at the beginning, but it's just trying out and trying to write down, what are you feeling? What are you feeling in this moment? Whether that's a sentence, whether that's 2 sentences. You have to start from somewhere, and slowly you build up of what is this feeling that I'm having? What situations are leading to this feeling? And why is this happening? And what can I achieve? What can I insert to overcome that emotion? So first of all, the foundation of all of this is awareness. So you have to sit down and try to write down what is the feeling that you're feeling, whether that's the physiological component, whether that is the mental expression. When I feel that feeling, what is my mind going through? How is my voice happening? What's happening to my voice? Because that could dictate a lot about the emotion itself. And then you elaborate more about, okay, what environment is kind of creating that emotion? And do I need to go back to my past to work on that emotion if I see it recurring? The great thing about journaling is that once you kind of journal these things, and once you dictate what environment is creating that emotion, you can see it over and over again happening. So that environment can be a good teller of why you're having that emotion. And once you understand the why of that emotion, you're able to regulate it in a better way.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Hadi. I mean, I wish we could continue the conversation. I'm afraid we're a little bit out of time. So I would encourage everyone to reach out to Hadi, or yeah, you can see the contact details on the screen now, either via Instagram or LinkedIn. And well, we would like to thank you very much for joining us this evening, and thank you also for the feedback in the chat box. We really appreciate it. As I've mentioned before, please do feel free to get in touch at ypnmiddleeast@energyinst.org. And we are looking forward to seeing all of you during our workshop in 2 weeks from now. We're going to have another session, and you should all receive an invitation shortly. So once again, thank you very much for joining us this evening. And yeah, have a great rest of your day.